And then they have to go home and work for 2 months to pay off the credit card. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Baharava Girivare Rani Gopi Jana Baharava Girivare Rani Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Ramuna Tira Manachari Yamuna Tira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Asto Tarasata Shri Shrimad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Privrajikacharya Asto Tarasata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavadini Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasti Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shai Mukunda Radha Kundi Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Gangamai Ki Jai. Jamunamai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Yagi Ki Jai. Brihat Vedanga Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Naperville ISKCON Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar Ki Jai. Vaishnav Sangha Ki Jai, Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, Shri Shri Guru and Garanga, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. So I'm curious, we have this very capable group of young drummers here. How old are you? You're also 8 years old. It's like the magic number here, huh? If you're 8 years old, you have to be an expert drummer. That's very good. I was thinking maybe the next one will be 6, the one after that will be 5. Someone's going to walk in with somebody who can't walk, but they're playing drum like a master. Very special community here with all the young drummers. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I was going to read from Srimad Bhagavatam. I was actually opening up to find another verse from the 2nd chapter because that's so nice, but I opened to the 5th chapter and the verse was so nice, and then I realized actually it's the 5th chapter, it's not the 2nd chapter. So this whole first canto is so especially wonderful. So this is the section on Narada's instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam. I have one management suggestion. Is there a volume on that phone? It might be good during class just to turn the volume down. Yeah, especially the voicemail. Yeah. Let's see. Did we chant Om Namo yet? Okay. Sometimes I do that and I realize we did already. Okay, so it's Canto 1, Chapter 5, text 18. It's entitled Narada's Instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam. Tasya Eva Heto Prayateta Kovitaha Na Labhyate Yat Brahmatam Upari Adaha Tat Labhyate Dukhavat Anyata Sukam Kalena Sarvatra Gabhira Ramhasa Tasyaiva Heto Prayateta Kovido Dalabhyate Yad Brahmatam Uparyadaha Talabhyate Dukavad Anyata Sukam Kalena Sarvatra Gabhira Ramhasa. So just so you know, we're reading Narada's instructions to Vyasadeva. So when you're chanting it, it's a good thing to be thinking that, okay, we know it's mantra, we know it's Shastra, we know it's Sanskrit, we know it's text, but we should also be thinking, we're actually hearing Narada's instructions to Vyasadeva when we chant this. It's like a famous, like a great quotation, right? They like to quote great men and women in the modern culture. So we're reading a quotation of Narada, so it's not ordinary. Tasyaiva heto prayateta kovido na labhyate yad pramatam uparyadaha talabhyate dukavad anyata sukham kalena sarvatra gapira ramhasa tasyaiva heto prayateta kovido na labhyate yad pramatam uparyadaha talabhyate dukavad anyata sukham kalena sarvatra gabhira ramhasa. Word meanings: tasya, for that purpose; eva, only; heto, reason; prayateta, should endeavor; govidaha, one who is philosophically inclined; na, not; labhyate, is not obtained; yat, what; brahmatam, wandering; upadi adaha, from top to bottom; tat, that; labhyate, can be obtained; dukhavat, like the miseries; anyataha, as a result of previous work; sukham, sense enjoyment; kalena, in course of time; sarvatra, everywhere; gambhira, subtle; ramhasa, progress. Translation: persons who are actually intelligent, okay, and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful end which is not obtained even by wandering from the topmost planet, Brahmaloka, down to the lowest planet, Patala. As far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment, is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time. Just as in course of time, we attain miseries, even though we do not desire them. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Every man everywhere is trying to obtain the greatest amount of sense enjoyment by various endeavors. It's interesting because, again, you go outside the temple and people see there's so much variety, and somebody likes football, and somebody likes crochet, and somebody likes singing, and somebody likes making clay pots, and somebody wants to make a lot of money, and somebody's trying to cure AIDS, and somebody's so many things, so much variety. And then Prabhupada just in one sentence, everyone everywhere is trying to obtain the greatest amount of sense enjoyment in various endeavors. Puts like the whole thing, like describes in the text, being philosophical. It's like trying to see the bigger picture. How does it fit together? So just this one stroke. All of those efforts, they can all be in one category, which is trying to arrange for material comfort and get rid of material miseries. And I think we read yesterday that there's very localized selfishness and then extended selfishness. And Prabhupada mentioned, maybe let's just read on the plane. He said that human form of animal life, it's very localized, concentrated selfishness. It's just my body. Like insects are kind of walking through the grass. You see something you can eat, you just eat it. You don't stop to think about, hey, wait a minute, this worm has babies at home. I should think about the social impact. It's just like worm, eat it. And then there's a bird, hide. It's all about me. But then Prabhupada was saying in human life it's extended, but it's my family, my community, my tribe, and based ultimately on trying to make material comfort. So here, just one sentence, everybody's trying to obtain the greatest amount of sense enjoyment. And you think, oh my gosh, what amazing statement. So is there an option? Is there anything else? So, to be explained. Some men are busy engaged in trade, right? We see that. Some people busy engaged in trade. Industry, economic development, political supremacy, etc. And some of them are engaged in fruitive work to become happy in the next life by attaining the higher planets. We don't see that so much these days. There's not much knowledge of that. But it is said that on the moon, the inhabitants are fit for greater sense enjoyment by drinking somaras, and the Pitriloka is obtained by good charitable work. So there are various programs for sense enjoyment either during this life or in the life after death. An example, we can see that on this planet. People may think, oh, universally that doesn't make sense. We haven't seen that. How can we believe that? But at least within our own experience, we can see that. Like I mentioned, Hawaii. People want to go to Hawaii. They want to get a garland. They want to lay on the beach. They want to get some sun. They want to go surfing and all that. And then you can go some other place, and you can go, like these days they have, like, you can take a tour, and you can go to some cold country, and you can pay a lot of money and sleep in an igloo. Isn't it? It's like, well, huh? Sleep in an igloo, It makes you, but it's a really good igloo because they give you lots and lots of blankets so you don't freeze, right? So you can go to a hot place, you can go to a cold place, right? Some people want to go to a really noisy place. Some people pay a lot of money to go to some place where you walk in and the music is so loud you can't hear anything. You pay a lot of money, right? And somebody else pays usually less money, or maybe they pay a lot of money to go to some forest. Right? You pay a few thousands of dollars, go on a safari, go out in Africa, there's no people around, it's kind of quiet. So quiet or noisy, hot or cold, people are trying to go, we can see the variety is there, but for different grades of sense gratification. Some are trying to reach the moon or other planets by some mechanical arrangement. For they are very anxious to get into such planets without doing good work, but it is not to happen. By the law of the Supreme, different places are meant for different grades of living beings according to the work they have performed. By good work only, as prescribed in the scriptures, can one obtain birth in a good family, opulence, good education, and good bodily features. So here talking about karma for future lives. We also see that even in this life, one obtains a good education or money by good work. Similarly, in our next birth, we get such desirable positions only by good work. Otherwise, it would not so happen that two persons born in the same place at the same time are seen differently placed according to previous work. But all such material positions are impermanent. The positions in the topmost Brahmaloka and the lowest Patala are also changeable according to our own work. The philosophically inclined person must not be tempted by such changeable positions. He should try to get into the permanent life of bliss and knowledge, where he will not be forced to come back again to the miserable material world, either in this or that planet. Miseries and mixed happiness are two features of material life, and they are obtained in Brahmaloka and other lokas also. They are obtained in the life of the demigods and also in the life of the dogs and hogs. The miseries and mixed happiness of all living beings are only of different degree and quality, but no one is free from the miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. Similarly, everyone has his destined happiness also. No one can get more or less of these things simply by personal endeavors. Even if they are obtained, they can be lost again. One should not, therefore, waste time with these flimsy things. One should only endeavor to go back to Godhead. That should be the mission of everyone's life. Om Ganatam Yandasha Janan Anjana Shalakaya Chakshur Om Minitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Bishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I was thinking, 7:30 Sunday morning, and we get up, we come in, thank you all of you for coming. So we get up in the morning, do some sadhana, and part of that we come to the temple or we come in community as often as we can to study the Bhagavatam. And I was thinking, meanwhile, other people, most people, it's Sunday, so a lot of people get up and go to church, that's a good thing. But generally, whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, most people get up and they turn on the what? Okay. And usually, specifically the what? They want to hear the news, right? Or they turn on the radio, or they get up, they check their phones, right? What's the news? Was there a flood last night? What's the weather? They want to know the news. News meaning they want to know what's new. Right? What's new? What's new today? We come here, because I was thinking, here it is, okay, it's the fifth chapter of the Bhagavatam. Yesterday I read from the second chapter, or you open the Bhagavad Gita, so many things. It's not new. Like I mentioned yesterday, repetition of a good thing is a good thing. It's the same thing. It's Narada telling Vyasadeva, same thing Krishna told Arjuna, same thing Sukadeva Goswami is telling the sages at Naimisharanya, etc., to the assembled Brahmins and the Ganges. Maharaj Parikshit, later Sutta, tells to the sages at Naimisharanya. It's the same messages there. In Prabhupada's purports, it's the same message, because we have a different set of values. We don't want to know what's new. We want to know what stays. There's different values. It's very, like here in the text, those who are actually intelligent. It's interesting. who are actually intelligent. In other words, not those who think they're intelligent, or not those who the world acclaims as intelligent, but those who are actually intelligent, according to the analysis of the Shastra, and philosophically inclined. Those people, they're not so interested in what's new. They want to know what stays. Of course, in our ordinary lives, we need to know, like if you're going to drive to work, okay, obviously, you turn on, like in DC, you turn on the traffic channel. Where's the roadblocks today? Or your GPS tells you, go this way this time. So it doesn't mean that information isn't helpful. You don't want to drive to work every day based on the traffic reports from last week, because maybe that road's closed this week and now you're in big trouble. So those things are helpful, but more important, as described here, is to ask this question, what actually stays? And here, particularly, what doesn't grow tired? It's another important question. What doesn't grow tired? So in this verse it's describing that all people actually, they're seekers. Everybody's seeking something. I remember there's a popular song when I was young. Was the words went, Dr. Livingston, I presume, stepping out of the, Dr. Livingston, I presume, no, Krishna's not helping remember it. Anyway, the thing with Dr. Livingston, I presume something, stepping out of the jungle gloom into the midday sun. What did you find there? Did you stand a while and stare? Right, Livingston, who did all the famous research in Africa. What did you find there? Did you stand a while and stare? And then the refrain was, we're all looking for someone. It's one of those songs of a generation that kind of, you mix that in with a little Bible and a little yoga, and you really get convinced that, as it says here, we're all looking. And then, I don't remember the other verses, went on to different people, but it always came back to this, we're all looking for someone. So in a similar way, it's described here, people are always seeking something, and we see this. I was talking with some of the youth last night, and they were describing in their own experience, remember how there's all these trends. Sometimes parents, they're even saying the teachers can't keep up with the trends. The teacher's trying to imitate the kids and show they're really cool, but by the time the teachers figure out what the trend is, it's like so old, isn't it? It's so old. And then the kids just think it's hilarious to see their teacher doing something in May that was in style in September. And of course for the teacher, that's a few weeks ago. But for the kids, that's like the previous Kali Yuga. It's so long ago, right? Like 6 months is so long ago. I can remember my father had a record player that was about maybe 10, 15 years old. And I remember going home to visit when I was in college, and he put a record on this record player, and I just looked at it and I thought, this is kind of disgusting. How can you use this thing? It is so old. But now that I'm older, I find that I use this, like, why change? It works. But when you're younger, things, they change very quickly. So the kids are pointing out about how there's so many trends and things, and they change so fast. And of course, it's not just with kids' culture, it's with other cultures, because people, they always want to try something new. Again, turn on the news and see what's new, or what's the new trend, or what's that. But then we notice it, then what do they do with it afterwards? Like, what did some of the kids say last night? What do they do with their spinners, right? They throw it in the corner of the room. It's like 1 minute it's like everybody wants one, and then the next minute they're just like thrown in the room. It's why America, particularly, why we have such huge landfills, isn't it? And it's why, like, you go a lot of places, they have like even in Europe, like, where's the trash bin? It's like some little can out back. Americans, like every house, so you can't have, like the neighborhood where 2 neighborhoods I live, they don't even pick up the trash once a week, they come twice a week. Why can't people store their trash for like 6 more days? Because there's too much of it. And why is there so much? Because they're consuming so much, and then they throw it away. So it becomes very, very popular style. So one day's treasure is tomorrow's trash. Is it? So again, philosophically inclined people think, well, why is that? Can people work hard? They work hard to buy all those things. You know, like somebody was saying last night, so they paid like $20 for one of these little spinners. And it's so interesting, Prabhupada uses this word, this is a great word, flimsy. Prabhupada says these flimsy things. I'm thinking like this is written, this is the first canto, I don't know the exact year, written maybe in the early 60s. Prabhupada was preparing for his trip, maybe 62, 63, I don't know exactly. So flimsy, we probably know this word flimsy in India in 1963, you know. But flimsy things, they're flimsy things. But and Prabhupada expanding this, he says, whether they're going from even to the higher planets, you know, so sometimes you meet people and there's such a tendency in the material world to try to show off, right? So somebody might ask you, like, where'd you go for your vacation? Oh, we went to Lake Michigan. Oh, I went to Lake Como in Italy. And you're supposed to be like, you are so lucky. And I am so envious. And Lake Michigan was nothing compared to Lake Como, right? But Prabhupada's saying no. But Prabhupada's saying actually, but you know, someone could say, but I went to Brahmaloka. Right? And there's, you know, and again, we don't see it in modern era, but Prabhupada's making the point, you know, and other times people are thinking like that. They're doing tapasya and all those things just to try to get promoted to a higher planet. But sadhu, right, one who cuts, guru, one who's heavy, they just walk in and say, it's all the same thing. It's so people want to know, did you hear the news? I remember one time, I think it was Anuttama who can be so humorous in his analysis. I'm pretty sure he said this time. He said, someone asked him one time, so Swamiji, you have so much knowledge, can you read palms? He said, yeah, I can read. He said, show me your palm. He said, birth, death, old age, and disease. That's your future. It's true, isn't it? Because if you step back, you see the big picture. It's like if you get caught in a traffic jam, right, and you're in the middle of it, and so much anxiety is there. But, you know, meanwhile, there's a helicopter. These days, the GPS can help you too, right? They show you, okay, here's the red line. It only lasts for 1 mile. Calm down. Or some days you see, oh, it lasts for 20 miles. I drove to Richmond the other day, and I got this traffic jam, and I could just see I got to get off the road. And my GPS isn't so good, but I just knew. I could see at least there's some other road parallel, so I, like, pulled off, and because I had a little bit of a helicopter view. So because you had the helicopter view, it wasn't such a big deal. Or sometimes, like, say, parents with kids, again, you use an example, you know, a kid, maybe you go to school and there's a bully in your class or something, and it can be really difficult to deal with. And, you know, one of the things the parents help us do is they kind of say, well, look at the bigger picture. Just ignore them. You know, just ignore them. Doesn't do any good to get involved in them. You'll step back and don't let it bother you. So this helicopter view, or sometimes they say like a 30,000-foot view. So this is like, the Shastra is like a interplanetary view, or an out-of-the-planetary view, an extraterrestrial view, a spiritual view, looking at the whole thing in context. So that this context being described here is that people are working very hard, trying to get a little more happiness and address some of the difficulties. But Narada is explaining to Vyasadeva and asking him to clarify this in his teaching for others, that it's always going to be mixed. And we all have experience of this, and this is one of the, I find, interesting things as devotees, is we get to see the world from a different perspective. So you're walking down the street and you see somebody kind of lose their temper, and most people might think in terms of, well, that's dumb, or why are you disturbing me by making noise, or maybe they feel some compassion for the person or what. But the devotee's perspective largely is just see how the material energy is bewildering people. This person has a human form of life, and they're getting so upset over such a small thing. And they're wasting so much time. Like Prabhu mentions politics and things. Sometimes there's this office politics, right? And you see people like, they waste so much time just trying to make trouble for somebody else in the office. And you just feel like, why don't you spend your time trying to do good for yourself? What's the big deal? So in so many ways, people misspend so much time. So Narada here is explaining that, because Vyasadeva, he's written, if you remember this section, Vyasadev's written so many different Vedic literatures, and he's still feeling despondent. That specific word is used, despondent. And Narada comes. This seems to be, I think we can say it is part of the duty of a spiritual master, like Krishna with Arjuna. And he says, nice work, but you're foolish. Good job, but you missed something. You missed the essential point. You're giving people so much information, but they're going to misinterpret it. You've written all these different types of Vedic rituals and how people should do this and do that. But he says, but intelligent persons who are actually intelligent should endeavor only for that purposeful end which is not obtained even from the topmost planet. So you're saying, you've misled people. So by the mercy of Guru and Krishna and sadhus, we've had this opportunity to be able to see that same thing. So Narada is telling Vyasadeva, stick to the essence. Don't distract people. Make sure, and then he compiled the Bhagavatam to make sure that point is there. So in a similar way, there's so much news, there's so many new things, there's so many new trends, there's so much pressure of fashion and things like that. And to one extent we have to go along with those things. But if we're householders especially, you have to, if a lot of us, you have a job, you have to dress a certain way. You can't just, wear your dhoti to work. It's not going to help close the sale. You have to dress a certain way and things like that. And that's okay. Even Lord Chaitanya with Haridas Thakur, he didn't tell Haridas Thakur, force your way into the temple. Because it was his social customs were there. And, Prabhupada was bringing spiritual culture, and he also, adjusted to certain things, time and place, according to where he was. So we have to, be practical in some dealings. But again, it's the essence, it's what's our focus. And it's described here to keep this perspective in mind. Prabhupada says, don't waste our time with flimsy things. Minimize our time with flimsy things. Remind ourselves. And observe ourselves. I mean, sometimes, it just happens. Sometimes we may decide, I really, really need to buy something. Okay, so then you buy that thing, and you realize, I didn't really, really, really need to buy that thing. So no big deal. But then I should think, okay, next time. Next time that urge comes, next time I'm in that store, I'm in that shop, I'm with those ladies that say, well, we all bought something, you should buy something too. And maybe we buy something a little less expensive, or we ask ourselves, how can I use this for some other purpose? The point being, some of us, I don't mean to harp on this example, but just to continue it, some of us, it just may be our nature, we're really into fashion. Okay, so no problem with that, but we should try to somehow connect that to Krishna. And some of us may, I know so many devotees a lot of times devotees are so into technology, and sometimes devotees aren't, but somehow connect that to Krishna. And, some of us, we have families and kids, and you need to do stuff with your kids and have fun with your kids and take vacations with your kids and all that, but somehow also make sure it's connected to Krishna, to make sure it's connected, as Prabhupada says, the mission of life, this endeavor to go back to God. And just keeping this perspective in mind that, because we live in a high-pressure society. The kids were talking about that a lot last night, right? Peer pressure. And of course, it's especially tough on young kids, because when you're really young, it's pretty much your life is really formed by your parents. And I don't know at what point you reach a certain age and you realize, my father's not perfect. And there's other ideas. And I've met kids who think their fathers are kind of foolish. Maybe my father's foolish too. But I don't really think he's foolish because he takes nice care of me. But other people saying this and that, and Mom, Dad, why do we do things this way? I was talking with this devotee this morning who's active in the Sri Vaishnava community, and they're doing some research with their own youth. And he said that they're having, one of the challenges they're facing is a lot of young people, their parents, their grandparents, they teach them kind of mantras and this and that, and they come for certain things, but they don't know why they do it. And what's described here, people are intelligent and philosophically inclined. We want our kids to be intelligent and philosophically inclined. Because if they just follow blindly whatever we say, maybe tomorrow they'll follow something else blindly. And I had experience of this. This example comes to mind. Sometimes we know even, great spiritual personalities, Maya can distract us and cause some temporary fall down. So, sometimes even someone who's in the role of a guru can have serious issues. And like in the 1980s, went through this period of time, there was a whole bunch, and some since then too. But I remember observing that some of the disciples seemed to be patterned. A lot of the disciples that were just very kind of, I don't want to use judgmental words, very enthusiastic, but at least from my viewpoint, from what I observed, not so deep. When their gurus fell, to use the colloquial term, they fell apart. When it was a little more of a sentimental kind of a thing, maybe even say a blind following, he's guru, if I follow him, everything's fine. When he went away, they were shattered. Whereas the other people that were a little more maybe reserved, and a little more deeper in their devotion, in a sense of understanding that I'm worshiping Guru because Guru is helping me in my spiritual life, because Guru is serving Krishna, because Guru is showing me the path to go back to God, because Guru is following his Guru, therefore I'm following. That if their individual Diksha Guru had difficulty, they weren't shattered, because they understood I'm still so indebted to this great personality who is also, subject to the dangers of this world. So the fact that he had difficulties doesn't undermine my faith, because it wasn't a blind following. So to get it back to a parallel with kids, if the kids are just told follow because you should, and there's no understanding why, then at a certain age somebody else says, their teenage friends say, well, try this, try that. You should sneak out of your house at 1 o'clock in the morning, your mom will never know. Why? Well, you just should. If you raise your whole life where you should, when you reach that stage that your friends are having a lot of influence on you, and at a certain point we all reach that pace where our friends in society are having more influence than our parents. You carry your parental influence throughout your life, but it doesn't become the main thing in your life. There's friends and bosses and spouses and so many things. So if we trained our kids to be philosophically inclined, here's why we do this. And sometimes, frankly, we don't have all the answers. Certain percentage of things we're going to say, well, because we have faith that Scripture tells us it's good for us. The vast majority of it, there's very philosophical, clear understanding. But if the kids don't know that, at a certain time they're just going to go, well, a lot are going to go, well, why should I do that? The mall seems a lot more tempting than the temple, etc. So we need to, this is what Vyasadeva is saying to Narada is saying to Vyasa, you gave them so many things, but you didn't give them the higher reasons behind it. And so Prabhupada's explaining there's so much in this purport that can be talked about, but there's just a couple points that we should also ensure that we are helping be philosophically grounded in what we're doing. Otherwise we'll be swept away. Right? It describes in the Gita that, people, you're like on a boat, and without knowledge, you're just blown by the waves, by the wind. So in a similar way, we should make sure we cultivating our knowledge about why we do things. And also at the same time I'll mention that I know Ravinda Prabhu has explained some things that's helped me in my spiritual life. He says that sometimes we come across certain teachings that we don't quite understand. Okay, Prabhupada mentions the moon here. Okay. And some of us may be like, oh my gosh, that's a lot different when I ever learned. And I studied astronomy, and there's so much evidence that the moon is like this and that, and why are you saying it's different? I was asked by a BBC radio interviewer about a year ago, and he was somehow doing some research. It was an unpleasant story. He wasn't being fair. He was purposely trying to do a nasty story. So they sent him to me. It was like, thank you very much. Send him to a crazy American, so it makes him, at least they can attribute it to the Americans and not the British, Hare Krishnas. But he was pushing me on a couple of things. One of them was like about the moon. And he said, how far away do you think the moon is? And I said, I'm not sure. He said, but your book says it's closer than the sun or something like that. I said, oh yeah, that book says this. Other books say something else. Personally, I don't think it's that important. And it's not a big deal to me. And I said, how close, where do you think it is? And he told me. And I said, have you ever been there? He said, no. I said, how do you know it's there? He said, because, shorten the story, because they told me so. I said, okay, so I'm telling you I have conflicting sources of information. I'm maintaining a neutral perspective on it, but I don't know for sure from my own conviction. But I believe this side because everything else I'm learning that I can measure works. On this side, a lot of the stuff that they tell me, like just enjoy your senses and you'll be happy, doesn't work. So I'm a little more skeptical on this side, but I'm at least maintaining some independent thought. You're telling me you believe it, you've never been there, you don't even know the people you believe. Why? And who's closed-minded? Who's the person with blind faith? Is it me or is it you? So that's our process, philosophically inquisitive and actually intelligent. We're trying to become intelligent like that. So to just finish that piece, Ravindra Prabhu, he describes sometimes you come across certain teachings, and he gave his expression. He said, I put a bracket around them. Like, I'm not quite sure. Like maybe sometimes you're reading something, sometime you see a few words you don't know. Maybe in school you see some. So you put a little bracket around them. You continue on, you get the main gist of everything. Like, I don't completely comprehend how that works. Let me just put a bracket. I'll put it over here for now. I'm not going to full stop. Oh, you hit this one thing. Oh, I don't know about that. Full stop. Do nothing. Let's go back to the mall, spend all our money. No. Let's put a little bracket here. Let's put that aside for now. Let me study more. Let me see what happens. And we see sometimes those little brackets, you keep chanting, keep reading, and one day you come across a verse like, oh, that's what that was all about. Or you see something in the world, you go, oh, I just saw it with my own eyes. It seems strange, but I just saw it with my own eyes, etc. Okay? We have a couple minutes for a question? Yes. So I didn't leave much time this morning for questions.
Regarding the youth, I really wanted to say that we have been also discussing this point about why do we do what do we do? Mm-hmm. Do you really want to do it? That kind of a discussion, and I was connecting for me when you said this morning and also yesterday. One of the things that we are doing for this summer is like a dham research, or we're just taking one particular dham, and just Jagannath Puri, and then just doing a research. And my kids are like 13 and above, like teen. So
that's a great project. That's great. Maybe you should have them come and make a presentation to the community when they're done.
So one of the things, contradictions about Jagannath Puri is that they don't allow non-Indian body devotees to get into the temple.
There's a whole judicial battle about that right now. Yeah, they may be changing. Okay. If I got it right, a court just made a decision that they have to open the doors, but somehow it's under appeal or they're in negotiation or something like that. So that may change.
They'll be happy to hear that, because this has been a main concern for them, that I don't know why Krishna is doing this kind of a, like they're very disturbed. And I was also very
Can I give you the general answer to that part of your question? Because there's a lot of things in the world. There's billions of things, you could ask, I don't know why Krishna is doing this. That's not the right phrase. Our understanding is Krishna is not doing it, he's allowing it. This is the world for Krishna allows us to do all the things we want to do that aren't particularly good for us. So things that are going on in the world, it's not that he wants those things. He doesn't want murder and pillaging and war. He doesn't want those things. But he's given us a place, because we want to be rebellious, so he's given us a place where we can come and do those things. And we victimize each other. So it's an important message to get across to them, kids. It's not that he wants all this stuff. He allows it. Because if he didn't, we have no free will. So it's the price we pay for our free will. Okay? Anybody else? We had a nice discussion with the youth. It's a big age. It was 10, right? 10 to 18. Yeah, very thoughtful. Yeah, very thoughtful. Young people. So we'll stop. Oh, one more quick one till the conch blows.
Prabhu, you are always, from yesterday also you are mentioning the repetition and how to present it in a fresh way, any insights, any guide?
Well, just my own sense would be, I mean, when you read Prabhu's books, see how he does it. When you hear from other people in a way that you find inspiring, stop and think about that. How do they do it? Interesting the way they presented that. And I think also be aware of time, place, and circumstance. So like say you're talking to kids, to try to think in terms of what's important to them. Like we had this interesting discussion about spinners. I still didn't get the first word. What is it? One more time? Fidget. Yeah, the word itself is stupid. What to speak? So that you can fidget with it, yeah? And just think about, see, there's an example. Philosophically, a fidget spinner. In other words, you have energy, right? You want to fidget, right? Fidget. You want to, right? Fidget, right? So you have energy. So we're going to sell you something. You can utilize your human energy to fidget. So don't try to solve the problems of life. Don't think about what's important in life. Just fidget. That in itself. And of course, okay, everybody, whatever, we all have some few time wasters. But if you, again, the helicopter view, what kind of society is this? That they tell people, okay, we're going to give you something, so you take all your energy and waste it. Isn't it? That's basically what it's doing. Saying, here's a time waster. See, you can almost feel like Prabhupada's tears. Time waster. Yeah, the human form of life. And those of us that are, how old are you? 11. Okay, so I think before 11 you don't get this realization. But after 11, maybe at 12, time goes by really fast. It goes by really, really fast. And the Shastra says you can't buy back a moment for all the gold in the world. That is so, what a heavy statement. Oh my gosh. And they're selling people fidget spinners. So Prabhupada also uses another word. He says flimsy. Flimsy. What's it mean, flimsy? It means it's like that nice Vedic analysis of, we don't see so many lotus flowers in the world, but if you live in a different culture, the drop of water on the leaf, and it's flickering. There's another word. Fidget, flimsy, and flickering. So because it's flickering, we shouldn't grab hold to the flimsy, and whatever you do, don't waste your time with fidgeting. Isn't it? It just makes sense. It just makes sense. But the most important thing is association. Like with the kids last night, you have to have other association. Because otherwise, you know, we all get these realizations. And if you don't have other people to reinforce them, sometimes you think, well, it's just me. You know, there's a lot of people in the world walking around not happy and frustrated, and they're just thinking it's just me. And the society kind of, I mean, there's good religious institutions trying to help in their ways too, but in general, society's just saying you got to fidget more. You're frustrated, you just got to go buy a fidget spinner, and then you'll be fine. So people in there, I just need a fidget spinner. I just need to go to happy hour. I just need to get another prescription of opioids. That's heavy, isn't it? 50,000 people. You know, wow. And, you know, so that pressure is there. You know, the kids are thinking, well, you just got to rebel. You're not rebellious enough to your parents. If you rebelled against your parents, you'd be happy. You know, but a thoughtful person looks around the room and says, well, she's the most rebellious girl in the class, and I don't want to be like her. Even she looks like she's really happy. I had an experience one time, I was at the Indian Embassy. He's just going to open whenever he's ready, right? He's not, is he waiting for it? He shouldn't wait. It's okay. I mean, if he's behind, that's okay, but I don't want him to wait for us. I was at the Indian Embassy a few years ago and happened to be speaking with some like second gen, young group of maybe 20-somethings, young men and women, and just really, you know, kind of hip, right? Not so religious. I didn't know from the temple. And you could tell they just kind of thought it was kind of funny a little bit. They respected me, but it was a little funny. Here's this white guy in a dhoti at the Indian Embassy, and that's like so old-fashioned. I can't believe you're here. That kind of mood. And they were talking and asking me questions, and their whole mood was kind of, I got it together, and it's kind of funny, you're so old-fashioned. And, you know, the girls were dressed really pretty, and the guy, you know, he's got his collar unbuttoned, and they're looking really, you know, spiffy. And then the girls left, and they were all, the guy at least was a little drunk, just a little drunk. And then the girls left, and the minute the girls left, this guy just looked at me, and I don't remember his exact words, but it was something very close to this. Actually, I'm completely miserable. In front of the girls, he was like, you know, you see some of those people walking across the street in front of your car, right? They're strutting, you know, strutting their stuff. So he was like that. And the minute these girls left, and he didn't have to pretend, then he was like, I am so miserable. And it was funny. I was saying, well, just a minute ago, you were telling me how everything was great. So it's a facade. And he was honest enough he could admit it to me. But most people, they can't admit it. Like there's some expression, most people's, our lives, I can't remember the exact term, live lives of quiet desperation. You know who said this? Some Western philosopher. Most people's, their lives of quiet desperation. Because underneath it, you know, there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of pain, a lot of hurt. So devotees, you know, we have this perspective by Narada's grace and Prabhupada's grace and Vyasadev's grace to be philosophical and intellectual and to see and to be able to say, well, okay, the peer pressure is going here, but why? And is there another option? So even 11, you should ask those questions. Keep asking those questions. You know, even at 8, it's a little tougher at 8, but at 11, for sure. Okay? We're so fortunate. We're so fortunate. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Bol.